Thanks, Travis. All right. I will now call this meeting of the License and Ordinance Committee to order. It is July 11th. It is 5:33 p.m. We have a quorum with me here and with Alder Cole. So we will go ahead and open it up for comments from any citizens who are present. Somebody see any? None? All right. Seeing none, I will close that part. We move on to approval of the minutes from the June 13th, 2023 L&O meeting. I was not able to make that meeting, so I will entertain a motion from anyone who was.
This is Alder Cole. I will move to approve.
All right. I guess I will second that. And all in favor? Aye. All right. Minutes are accepted. Moving on to hearings and appeals. On the agenda, we have appeal of a denial of an operator's license for Taylor Luck, employee of Kelly's Market, 8613 University Green. And I don't see her on this call.
No, I did email her last week, confirming this was originally denied back in early June. And then when I reached out to her again, I haven't heard any more regarding whether she still wanted it on the agenda. So I just left it on. Okay. So I did prepare a memo, just kind of outlines the reason for the initial denial from the police department. Namely, our concerns being the 3 underage drinking citations. She's only 21 years of age, and the most recent conviction was in October of 2022. So there really hasn't been a whole lot of time, less than a year since her last citation, the 3 citations in total. And also the fact that on the application, she indicated that she did not have any prior underage alcohol violations. These factors were concerning to us, hence the denial. She emailed us after that. Actually, first she contacted the city clerk and just kind of wanted asking questions about the denial. We explained the reasons. She indicated that it was going to affect her employment at Kelly's. She was probably going to be let go. Again, that was in early June, and I've not heard from her since. So that's kind of where it stands at this point. She did request an appeal, hence why it's on the agenda.
All right.
Sorry, I have a quick question. So these kinds of licenses are for folks to be able to sell beverages at, so she can.
Well, it's necessary for her to, every light premises has to have either the licensee or the agent or an operator. And so in these types of situations, usually it's, you know, they want to be able to have just one employee on in certain hours, and they would need an operator's license in order for alcohol to be sold. But like in other situations, you know, if there was another employee there or the licensed agent was on the premises, a unlicensed operator could sell as long as somebody else is there.
And so, Matt, in this situation, without the person who is appealing representing themselves on the call, do we just skip this now? Do we need to take it up? What's the...
Well, and I mean, the appeal was filed, so I think I would entertain a motion to deny, incorporate the reasons set forth in the memo. I think certainly underage alcohol citations are substantially related to the licensed activity. We don't have any real presentation of factors of rehabilitation, and they're fairly recent. It doesn't help that she didn't appear. So
Yeah.
I would yeah, just incorporate for the reasons, incorporate the reasons of the report and the fact that she failed to appear for the hearing as the reasons to.
Well, alternatively, thinking back to the other one that we saw this earlier, just this year, we allowed the person to refile. There was a similar incident where they omitted some facts of conviction on their application to begin with. And so we allowed them to reapply at that juncture and then considered that application after the appeal. So I would be more inclined to allow her to reapply with a completed and correct application, if that's what she would choose to do. In the other instance, when it was the same, we had to repay the same filing fee again. It was having to go through the process again. But because the issue was the fact that it was an incomplete application to begin with, and then allow the consideration of the factors of underage drinking to be either denied, or is that something that we like?
Well, I mean, you could always, yeah, there's nothing by statute that says that if you deny it, that she can't reapply and, correct some of the things and then provide information, but she has not appeared to do that today, and we have an existing application. So, I mean, if you'd like to make clear in your motion that, if she filed a complete application, without any promise that it would be granted, that we would consider the application, you could say that. But I think procedurally, this application and appeal should have a decision. Correct.
Okay, got it.
From my past work in other types of licensure, for me, the most concerning is the saying no to answers that should have been yes, and that is for me what is most concerning here. So
yeah, all right, well, if it's okay with you, Jen, I will go ahead and make a motion that we deny the appeal for the denial of the operator's license for Taylor Luck, the employee of Kelly's Market, as it currently stands.
And I would second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Just to be clear for the record, are we we have to have reasons for the denial, and are we relying upon the reasons set forth in the report and her failure to appear as the reasons for the denial?
Yes, so the denial, I will restate my motion then. I vote to deny the appeal of the denial of an operator's license for Taylor Luck based on the memo in the packet, and for her failure to appeal, or failure to appear. You good with that?
Yeah, and I'll second that revised motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. The appeal has been denied. Moving on. Licenses and permits. The first one, Madison Hotel Group, LLC, doing business as Staybridge Suites, is requesting a Class A fermented malt beverage and Class A intoxicating liquor license, restricted to wine sales, at 7790 Elmwood Avenue, Sunny Patel, 650 Grand Canyon Drive, Madison, as agent.
No police objections on this one.
All right. All right. Is there a motion then to approve?
This Alder Cole also moved to approve.
This is Alder Wokus. I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. License passes. Number 2, 1717 LLC, doing business as The Quarry, is requesting a Class B fermented malt beverage and Class B intoxicating liquor license located at 7621 Terrace Avenue, Middleton, Wisconsin, with Melissa Sweeney, 3814 Timber Lane, Verona, Wisconsin, as the agent. And I see Melissa is on the call.
Hello.
Do you want us, I'm excited. When I saw this on here and I Googled the address, I was like, that's so cool. And I read what you had planned and I think I'm so excited that something's going to happen there. So can you tell us a little bit about what you have planned?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm excited that you guys are excited, first of all, because that makes obviously me more excited. I'm obviously prime candidate for being excited, but we have a really, really cool idea of creating a really cool community space. But in order to do that, the liquor license is necessary to be able to keep it afloat. So we would like to bring back the farmers market and bring that closer to town again, and have that space available for that kind of stuff. We want to bring the community in really and have, hold more events and really bring people to the downtown area. We want it to be a little bit higher end, of an, a venue, but also like not quite the Village Green, but not quite, if you will. So we're trying to keep it relaxed, but kind of keep the downtown feel, I guess, if you will.
Are you guys going to have a kitchen there?
I think we're debating. We're trying to figure out what that'll look like. I think we're probably going to have like just a warming kitchen. With doing construction and stuff, do we put a full kitchen in now just in case? It's kind of like that budgeting thing right now that we're kind of going through. But
yeah,
the important part was figuring out if we can get the liquor license first, because if not, the whole project's kind of a bust in order to have the event space there too. So, but it hopefully rooftop deck that goes into the quarry. We actually are planning on calling it the quarry at the moment. It's right next to the skate park. And we'll be recessed into it. So we're really hopeful that it's as beautiful as I have in my head, and I will take anybody's ideas and suggestions. You just let me know.
And I think the interesting thing, and I don't want to derail the conversation, but a lot of people don't know the history of the quarry in that location. So I think that's, if you really get that out there as you start to market yourself in the name of it. Because a lot of people be like, there's a quarry like over by the golf course, but the fact that there used to be one right there.
Yeah. And it's really beautiful if you step into that space just a little bit. We hope to showcase that little area that really sticks out and has the trees growing out of the rocks. Kind of make that a patio area for everybody to enjoy.
Cool. I'm excited. All right. Is there any other discussion?
I would just ask if they have any concerns about the request.
Nothing from the police department. Everything looks good and sounds exciting.
Thank you.
Matt, how are we doing? I know we talked about, never mind. I'll ask that another time. Not the space for it, but I will entertain a motion for approval of the license for 1717 LLC doing business as the Quarry for their Class B fermented malt beverage and Class B intoxicating liquor license.
This is Alder Cole. I will make that motion.
This is Wokus. I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. License is approved. Good luck. I'm excited.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Take care.
You too. All right. Application for a special event permit by St. Bernard Catholic Church Sharon Brummel, contact person for the parish picnic on September 10th, 2023 at Lakeview Park.
Yeah, so this is just their annual parish picnic, and it's at Lakeview. Not a whole. They typically have held bingo outdoors and needed an amplified sound, but they have decided to move that indoors to the indoor shelter this year. But otherwise, no change of plans from previous years.
Great. Any concerns from public safety?
None at all.
Awesome. All right.
I'll
Well,
go ahead and move approval of the special permit for the St. Bernard's Parish picnic.
great. This is Alder Wokus. I will second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Special event permit approved. Moving on to La Courtesière Cocina Real LLC, doing business as Camino Real Mexican and Seafood, and they are requesting a Class B fermented malt beverage and Class B intoxicating liquor license located at 2528 Allen Boulevard with Gerardo Chamorro, 7656 Lisa Lane, Unit 134, as the agent.
So there's a little bit of a backstory on this one. We don't have any objections from the police side to this being approved, but in conversations with the city clerk, there is some concern that Gerardo is not on the lease at this time. So essentially he doesn't have control over the premises. So in working through that, it was recommended that if you do approve this, that it be approved contingent upon him getting on the lease and or the LLC for the business, so that way he shows some control over the premise.
So
So,
who is
that's
the
that.
current, what is the name currently on the lease?
So they changed ownership in the last couple of months, and basically they've not gotten all their paperwork in order. So their lease and their LLC still has all the old owners' information on it, and now they're bringing in this new person who wants to be the agent but is not showing control of the property. So Lori Burns would like that satisfied prior to the license being approved. So essentially, if you grant this contingent upon him satisfying that, then at some point in the future, hopefully soon, he can get it taken care of. Because at this time, he's actually not serving alcohol in the business because they technically don't have a license.
Okay.
But did they under the previous owners, I mean, of the business?
So that expired the 1st of July.
Got it.
And so they've let it lapse. They've not taken care of the paperwork as they should have. And we did pay them a visit. The police department did last weekend and explained what was going on and said, you can't serve alcohol until you take care of this. So they're open. You just can't go in there and buy alcohol
Margarita.
and get a margarita, right? So I guess if you approve it contingent, at least it would speed up the process so we don't have to bring them back before L&O, and it would get them back online sooner.
So, but if we did do the contingency or the conditional approval, who would confirm that? Like, who would be responsible for confirming that all the paperwork was in order to have that full license granted?
That's through Lori Burns, the city clerk,
Okay.
and she's been in communication.
Track that?
I'm sorry?
She would track all of that, and that's when the liquor license could be released?
Yes. If you approve it, she's been in regular communication with them about this process, and as recently as Monday when I talked to her, they were still working. She explained to them about the need to get, the new ownership, on the lease and the LLC and all those steps.
And then she could contact them and let them know that it's been approved contingent on this, and that might light a fire too.
Correct.
Just to be clear, Trey, and I can talk with Lori too, just to make sure I understand what she's looking for. So is it the LLC that is not shown to be on the lease, or because the agent themselves could be simply an employee of the business. They don't need to be, but yeah, certainly the licensee needs to show that they have a right to be operating there, under a lease, and certainly we need to know all the principles involved.
Right. So essentially, this Gerardo is not on any kind of documentation having any control whatsoever of the business, is my understanding. So that's something that she wants satisfied, and has been working with the state on that as well, to make sure that she's following that correctly. But I can let her know that you might be reaching out to her to make sure that everything's taken care of as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just a little curious, but
yeah, it's a bit unusual.
If this individual is unable to do so, to get on to show that ownership within the LLC or the lease, or both thereafter, how would we handle that, right? Would they need a different agent to be, I mean,
Right. The agent is the person, is the individual, the person who we hold responsible for, so I mean, theoretically, people could, be fined, arrested and stuff, and they take personal responsibility when you have a company, LLC, or an incorporated entity that is the licensee. He is the agent is the personhood of that. That's the person that is actually responsible, and for whom like criminal liability and things can flow. Usually doesn't go to that extent, but that's the role of the agent. So yeah, they would just need to have somebody else be the agent, and that person needs to have the authority to run the business and make all the decisions that impact operating a licensed premises, because that's the person that we will hold responsible.
And if it's, if you approve this, I can reflect it in the minutes as far as what the discussion is in the contingency.
Yeah, so if you're looking, if you would prefer to approve this with that contingent, I think it's simply, you can approve it with contingent upon the city clerk's verification of the qualifications of the agent to serve as agent.
I'm writing that down so I get the wordage right. Okay. So I think what I will move then is that I move for approval of the license for Class B fermented malt beverage and Class B intoxicating liquor for La Cocina Real, doing business as Camino Real Mexican and Seafood, contingent upon the verification of the qualifications of Mr. Gerardo Camaro to serve as the agent. Does that sound like?
I will move to, or I will second that.
Okay.
Motion.
All right. Hopefully Lori will understand what that means. And so all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right. Moving on to miscellaneous. Discussion on the requirement for neighborhoods to obtain a special event permit for 4th of July bicycle parades.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to just kick it off, Laura, and we can take it from there? You're still muted.
Okay, sorry guys. Yeah, so this kind of came up recently with all the July 4th neighborhood bike parades. One neighborhood association realized that after securing the certificate of insurance and paying the $100 special event permit fee, they felt that it was somewhat cost prohibitive for them to have like this 10 to 15 minute ride. And after having a discussion with this contact, it kind of did prompt the question whether a special event permit is indeed needed. Usually the trigger is 200 or more people, which was not the case. But then if you are closing a public street, which they technically weren't. I mean, it was open to traffic. They were going to, for the brief period of time, they were going to kind of hold traffic at intersections, but they weren't putting out any road closed signs. It wasn't going to be for a long period of time. So that's when the question was prompted, and I'm like, you know what, you raise a good point. we can bring it up as a discussion point to LNO. So here we are.
So would this need just some change to the ordinances about these special events permits to have these, you know, some exceptions for these kinds of small, brief? Would we need to change, like, how does that work? Changing permit structure, right? If it's a small event that's not really raising any funds, where are
Well,
those funds coming from?
I think we already have, if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken, some discretion. You know, this is a cost issue. I think we have some discretion to waive, for instance, insurance requirements, and those kinds of things. You know, I mean, if they're truly not closing the road, you know, technically, I suppose they wouldn't require one, but you know, they certainly, if they're not closing the road, you know, I would imagine actually be obstructing traffic unless everyone's keeping, you know, so that's, I'd be hesitant to not have some official approval for these things, but you know, it may be that there are ways here that we can sort of, you know, because of the nature of what they are doing, lessen the impact. I'm just trying to find our, let's see.
Under fees and expenses in parent 7, it does say, no fee shall be required if the applicant has a City of Middleton department, board, commission, or committee. So if you were gonna tweak that, that might be a spot to do it.
Yeah, but actually, I mean, it sounds to me like the insurance was the big part. That's what I was just looking to see. I thought we had put some. Okay, shall carry insurance coverage. Yeah, the license, this is under, yeah, the insurance, so that's sub 6B. The License and Ordinance Committee may waive or modify these insurance requirements for purely private events if it determines the requirements would impose an undue hardship that the public interest is otherwise adequately protected. I don't remember. I don't know if that's language we added or if that was something. I mean, clearly there was something in mind that when we were talking about purely private events, but there might be something we can do in that language. Like I said, you know, if it's the insurance requirements, that's the really major issue.
I think the $100 is usually reasonable, but then I think specifically for this group, they didn't have an actual neighborhood association form, so it was going to have to be kind of like a personal addendum to kind of get insurance added. And if they know that going into next year, they could probably have it added for a more reasonable cost. But I mean, I felt like they did raise a really good question. Is, you know, is this really needed? And I mean, I don't know if we would ever waive the $100 special event permit fee, or if we would just waive the insurance. I don't know what you think is feasible.
I think I would need to know more about what kind of liability that opens us up to, because of, so, okay, albeit they're not officially closing a street, but if they are, as you said, blocking traffic for a brief period of time on a public street, and we waive the insurance and something happens, what does that liability look like? Who does it fall to? So I would need to know more information, I guess, about what waiving said requirement would look like.
Yeah, I might want to think about it a little bit, but I for these types of things, it doesn't give me a lot of heartburn. I mean, if all the city is doing is closing, we're closing traffic off. And giving them the right to obstruct the traffic. I mean, anything else that happens.
But do we need language that it's at their own risk or, that kind of thing?
I mean, that might not help. I don't think that that's really the linchpin of what is going to determine liability or not. I mean, it's what duty, what's going to happen, what duty did we have to prevent certain things from happening.
Right.
And in this instance, seems like not a lot, but I mean, these bike parades, is that pretty much, are we looking at a pretty narrow target here that we're trying to get, in which case?
Yeah, I would say
We
so.
have a great deal of her. I mean, I don't want to kick this around and all of a sudden next March we're
No,
still trying to do this, but
occasionally like a block party, but I think that's different because that's several hours. They're asking, they're asking for barricades. Like that is a legit street closure. That's different. But I think here it's just, especially when they know, they might have only 15 bikes and, like I said, that might only be 10 minutes, and for them to kind of jump through these hoops and have the added costs.
no, I agree. And
but they do, if we do still just require the special event permit, but waive the insurance requirement, I mean, they do still have to sign off on a fair amount of terms when they sign the special event permit. That I feel like that those terms might cover us enough.
true, but I mean, I don't typically like to rely on, I mean, most exculpatory contracts, which is what a waiver of liability or as an acceptance of risk really is. Those oftentimes aren't worth the paper they're written on.
Okay.
Because courts have find a lot of public policy reasons where if there is truly reason for liability, they'll just find a way around it. And the biggest one is, I think it's the Swim West decision where, the courts have held if you don't have the opportunity to negotiate over that term, because they consider it a contractual situation to waive liability. And if you've had no opportunity to negotiate, that alone can be reason. And so, oftentimes these things function as much or more as a sort of deterrent to not go looking for all kinds of crazy reasons just to sue, more than it is an actual legal defense. If the city truly had a duty in a situation and truly violated that duty, that it's not typically going to be a real defense. So, I mean, usually I rely more heavily on recreational immunity and our discretionary immunities. Those are our real protections. And so what I think we want to be sure that first of all, we're not giving unfounded preference to people for doing the same things. Especially in use of public places and streets and things like that can be kind of an issue. But also not, put up just huge barriers to people that are unnecessary. So yeah, if I could have just a little time just to think about this a little bit, how best to do it. I don't think that the fix necessarily needs to be too terribly complicated, but I think we want to make sure we're going about it the right way.
Well, and then I guess my next question would be that for 6, with that language at 6B, if we have that ability to waive, so I guess it would be a matter of function on the permit, because they would still need to get the permit. And so then for us to have considered that waiver, there would need to be something, I guess, on the form for request of waiver, or.
Yeah, I don't recall. It's been so long since I have done a real look at what our form looks like. Do we have any anything on there that allows them to, check that we are requesting a waiver?
Not
or-
at the moment, but I mean, all the applications did recently go digital, so it would be fairly easy to
I
add
mean,
that in there.
I don't know if we'd
I-
want that check
Exactly.
box unless it really explained clearly when because everyone, oh, waivers, yes, I'm applying.
Yeah, exactly. I know we could be opening again worms.
It may be one of those where on a staff level, we know the types of situations where waivers are likely to be granted, and maybe we suggest them in those circumstances. And in other situations where you have bigger events, and we've got the ordinance, they can request it, but
Yeah.
we can maybe
Yes,
think
yeah.
about that a little bit too. But
And would that, like, would the advice then be to make the request via letter supplementing their special permit application, making not a checkbox, obviously, I get that makes it, folks, of course, would take the lesser of the
well,
two paths. So,
yeah, and maybe it could be just as simple as, along with the staff report on this one, they've requested a waiver, and we think it fits. But yeah, I think if it's okay with the committee, if we could just get a motion to defer this to give the city attorney some time to come back with a proposal, I think.
Well, and there's no action item, it's just discussion. So,
Oh, right, okay.
I don't think we need
Yeah.
to take action on it, but I would like to point out that this has come up the 2 years that I've been on this committee now. We reviewed, one of the first actions that we did when I joined this committee a year ago was discuss the special event permit and some of the requirements that were on it. Mostly it was more around the fees of it, but I don't think we got into as much depth even as we've gotten in tonight when we discussed it then. But it seems to be a recurring request that we get questions about this a lot. So any thought that you can put into it, Matt, would be really helpful.
Yeah, that shouldn't be an insurmountable problem.
Yeah, we'll just add that on top of your already. All right, if there's no further discussion, we'll move on.
Do you want me to put that maybe on with the September agenda? I mean, there's no big rush on it.
Yeah, September, October. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, that should be, although, well, I'll just have to make sure I
remember.
it stays somewhere on. Well, I'll remember. I'll have to make sure I don't let it perpetually live at the bottom
of the to-do list. Well, and I think most of the special event stuff is very seasonal. So as long as it's something that we get to by, when do you start seeing special event permits, Laura? January, February?
For next year, yeah. I mean, we have one January event, but otherwise most of them start coming in February, March. But for these parades, I probably won't see them until April at the earliest next year.
All right, you can't say that out loud in my presence. You have it when I'm around. You have to say, "Oh, we gotta really be looking at this by November."
Yeah. Well,
very latest.
Possibility of weekend parade, so you never know.
Or somebody could walk into Laura's office tomorrow and create a big stink. So
yeah,
there you are. All right, thank you. We will move on to referrals. The first referral is for an ordinance change to prohibit parking on Parmenter Street from Terrace Avenue North to the railroad tracks. And this comes to us from the Public Works Committee.
Yes, and that was the median that they're putting in at that location, and it just would be a very narrow space to have vehicles parked there.
Yeah, I'm on Public Works, so I can report on this a little bit. Our discussion included, so just so everyone's clear, it's from Terrace Avenue just to the railroad tracks. So basically right in front of the tourism offices, the depot, and then across the street in front of the Middleton Commons, or not, it's not Grace Coffee, it's the building down from that. I think there's a hair salon there, or maybe another retail location right there. everyone on Public Works was very much in support of it. There's currently no parking on the east side, I believe. And this is to include no parking on the west side. It will increase visibility at the stop sign at Terrace and Parmenter to the north. And it will also, because of the median and the island, there's not enough room really, and it would limit that parking space to almost like only one spot. And so instead of limiting it, it's just going to remove it completely. And it did have the full support of Public Works. And it is in front of us now because they are obviously redoing the road right there. And so no parkings are done by ordinance. And then there's some signage that has to go up. It's not a matter, I learned this at Public Works, just so everyone learns this little bit of trivia. If there's yellow parking or yellow painting on the curb, that is considered it's not a suggestion. What's the word I'm thinking of? It's not a enforceable ordinance for no parking unless you have a sign. So currently there might be some yellow paint on certain curbs that you see along there, but there is currently no parking sign. And so that has to be done by ordinance, which is why it is before us. So I will go ahead and move that we approve the ordinance change to prohibit parking on Parmenter Street from Terrace Avenue north to the railroad tracks on both the east and west sides, as referred to us by Public Works.
I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And then the next is a referral also from the Public Works Committee for an ordinance change to prohibit left turns from Old Creek Road onto Century Avenue. I can also report on this, if I may. They're currently, Jen, you are new to ordinance LNO, but recently we made an ordinance change so you can't turn left into Old Creek Road. So if you're heading east on Century, you can't turn left into Old Creek. So it's basically only a right in, and this ordinance change would prohibit left turns when you're going southbound on Old Creek. You couldn't turn left onto Century to go east. And so it becomes basically a right in, right out intersection. We did have several residents that live on Old Creek Road speak at the Public Works Committee, and they were all in favor. There is concern about increased traffic from Red Tail Ridge development, using Old Creek as a pass through to get quickly down to Century. This would eliminate their ability to go east and then south onto Allen from that narrow and rather limited access intersection. So it will funnel that traffic down to the stoplight at Donna Drive and Frank Lloyd Wright, right there by the Craftsman and the Pick and Save. So everyone that lives on Old Creek, not everyone on Old Creek Road, but the contingent that was at the Public Works spoke in favor. And so that is why it has come to us now. Does anybody have any questions about the discussion at Public Works? No? All right. No concerns from public safety on this?
No,
Okay.
we'll just have to, there'll be some education at first, like any change, because I think.
Yeah.
what
Because
was
there's no concrete median there, correct? Right? So it would
No.
be just signage that would be what enforces that left turn or no
Correct.
left turn. Yeah, okay. So people need to get out of the habit.
Yeah, the neighbors on Old Creek Road are also looking into some traffic calming devices to encourage people to take it slow across Old Creek Road. There is concerns that even if it isn't a right in, right out, people going home at the end of the day would speed up that. And so the neighbors are talking about pursuing some sort of possible traffic calming. But this is sort of the first step in encouraging that. So, all right, so if there's no other questions, I will go ahead and make a motion that we approve the referral of the ordinance change to prohibit left turns from Old Creek Road onto Century Avenue.
I will second that motion.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Yeah. Okay, motion passes. And if there's no other questions or anything that anyone wants to discuss, all right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we stand adjourned. It is
Travis, do
6:18.
you have a couple minutes to
I do.
talk about? Okay. That for everyone.
All right, you don't
knows.
need any of